Okay, welcome back everybody to the Dream Whisperer of Jesus, where we discuss and interpret prophetic dreams. This video, I'm not actually going to share any prophetic dreams. I just thought I'd make a brief commentary about Sudan because what's happening there is really interesting. I come from a background in defence and foreign policy, so I thought I'd just share my own brief thoughts for a couple of minutes with my brothers and sisters in Christ. And today it's a beautiful day in Canberra. It's really good. So this is a view of Mount Ainslie. Got Canberra Stadium in the foreground, and it's just a beautiful autumn day in Canberra. This is one of my favourite seasons of the year in Canberra. Autumn, it's not too hot, not too cold, and just these really beautiful autumn afternoons like today, just not a cloud in the sky, roughly 20 degrees, so really nice. So what I'll do, I'll just zoom out a bit. Okay, how does that look? So just forgive my really basic drawing. So I haven't shared the dreams yet, but in the past God has shown me that the world's entering a second Cold War, and so this in Sudan over the weekend we've had a new conflict erupt. So I'll just talk about it. So in the world there's many different conflicts, and there's always a domestic conflict. So there's a domestic power struggle going on in Sudan, but what makes it really dangerous is that we've now entered a second Cold War, where we have the American and the Western countries on one side, and we have this very powerful de facto alliance between Russia and China on the other side. And these two great power blocks, the West, and I call it the anti-West, I guess, are competing for influence in all countries around the world. So for quite a few years now, I didn't, you'd have to fact check me, but maybe the last 10 years, Russia's been trying to get a Russian Navy base at the port of Sudan. So that's really important. And what has happened over the weekend is, in the past few months, Russia seems to be making solid diplomatic progress towards having the Sudanese government agree to having a Russian Navy base at the port of Sudan. And that would be really valuable strategically for Russia. So what the Americans and the West have done is that they've decided to try and extinguish Russian influence in Sudan, and I would have to pray about it. I don't actually know which side the Americans are supporting, but there's this group, a paramilitary group in Sudan called the Rapid Support Forces, and somehow the Americans have been able to facilitate a conflict between the Rapid Support Forces and the Sudanese government. And what the Americans will be trying to do is to ensure that there's a new Sudanese government that will block the Russians from getting their navy base at the port of Sudan. So it's a really fluid situation at the moment. I don't know what will happen in the next few days or weeks, months, but if things get really out of control, you'll have a Sudanese civil war. But if there's a diplomatic solution, or the Sudanese government and these rapid support forces agree to some kind of ceasefire peace deal, then it will be okay. But it's a really fragile and fluid situation at the moment, with the Western countries trying to block this Russian influence in Sudan. So the Russians already have a lot of influence in Eritrea. Forgive my really bad drawing of the region. But the Russians have a lot of influence in a country called the Central African Republic. And to get to the Central African Republic, the Russians need a land bridge. So that's why, one of the reasons why they're really developing this relationship with Sudan. The Russians both want the Navy base to have more influence in the Indian Ocean, but they also want to get a land bridge from Sudan to Central African Republic. land bridge through there. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens. Is the Western powers going to win? Is Russia going to win? Or will there just be a ceasefire and peace agreement where they agree to make Sudan a neutral country in the Second Cold War? So both the American and the West and Russia, they want to have Sudan aligned to themselves, but another possible solution is that Sudan becomes a neutral country where you have Russian economic access and you don't have to go to a civil war. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens and in the coming days and weeks, but hopefully there isn't a civil war for the sake of the people of Sudan. But because it's such a fluid situation, the interesting thing is to watch the port of Sudan. Which of the great powers has the most influence in the port of Sudan, they will consider that a strategic victory. So that's sort of the key currency, if you like, of this great power competition, is who does the West end up with more influence in the port of Sudan, or is it Russia that ends up with more influence? Okay, thank you brothers and sisters in Christ for listening. God bless you. Bye bye.